Hey, everybody. Welcome to Touch Taste Thursday. I am Rebecca of the Gene Ellen Home and Lifestyle Collection. Welcome. It's Thursday, Friday Junior. Yes, I am super duper excited. My guest tonight is Kwame Kilpatrick. Listen, I'm so ready for this. Like, I've been waiting. So I am excited. We're going to get him in a second. Make sure you are sharing. Make sure we are live. Make sure that you let people know to comment, share with your friends. Make sure you're following both of us. Follow myself as well as Kwame. And we're going to get started. I'm excited about this. I hope you guys are excited like I am. Let's see. We already got some comments. Let's see. We got a couple saying, hey y'all. Hey, everybody. Let's see. All right. I'm pressing accept. That gives you some more time to make sure you are sharing. Make sure you're commenting. Make sure you are telling everyone we are live. So let's see. Technology is trying to fail us tonight, but we ain't going to let that happen. So we're going to keep trying this till we get it. Let's see. If you are on, I sent the request, so accept the request. Are we going to get this going? I'm excited. Hey, everybody. Welcome. It's Touch Taste Thursday. This is so exciting. I know you say that, but I'm excited. Like, y'all just have no idea. So, again, welcome to Touch Taste Thursday. I am Rebecca of the Gene Ellen Home, the Lifestyle Collection. My guest tonight is Kwame Kilpatrick. I'm trying to get the request going. I've accepted. He's accepted. I don't know why. There we go.
All right. Okay.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, no, listen. I was sitting here watching you, and you was telling me, hey, I did it. I'm like, hey, I'm pushing it. Request not sent. I said, what's going on here? I see my man Ty Mock is on, man. Oh, you got some folks coming up in here now.
Come on,
that's all right. Come on in. Yeah, yes. Come on in. I saw First Lady. I saw First Lady Brumfield, and I saw somebody named Robert Brumfield as well.
Who is that?
Robert Brumfield and First Lady Brumfield. I saw them both come up in here. So I'm just saying you might know them. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. I might.
Okay, them Rattlers coming up here.
Yes, Detroit, check in, Detroit.
Wow.
So we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to Touch Taste Thursday. I am Rebecca Brumfield of the Gene Ellen Home and Lifestyle Collection. My guest tonight is Kwame Kilpatrick. I am so excited. I've said it like 85 times, but I am excited to have you. So thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me, Rebecca. I love being here. I see my family is all up in this joint, and Detroit and Pontiac and Jackson and Saginaw. You know, this is awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and jump right on in. You ready to roll?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So Kwame Kilpatrick. Okay. So let's start at the beginning. You were a school teacher. After you graduated from FAMU, you began as a school teacher in Detroit Public Schools.
Yes. Marcus Garvey Academy. I see Will just shouted out up there. Yep. East side of the city of Detroit. At that time, it was on Lilly Bridge and Kercheval. And so now it's moved. But, yeah, that's where I started my teaching career. I taught 7th grade and 8th grade social studies. And then the math teacher got pregnant and went on maternity leave, and the principal asked me to fill in for the math teacher a couple of months into the school year, and I ended up teaching math for the next few years. So I taught math, social studies, and at the 7th and 8th grade level.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that until I was reading and I was doing my research like I always do, and I was like, oh, he's a teacher. So how did you transition from teaching to law into full politics?
I actually started law school when I was teaching.
Okay.
When I was teaching school, I was going to Detroit College of Law. At that time, it was downtown Detroit, and I was going there at night. I was actually going to school all day. I would teach from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and I coached the basketball team at Garvey. And
Okay.
so we would have basketball practice from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and I had to be at class at 6 o'clock, and I was in class from 6 to 9. I did that Monday through Friday. Every week. So law school, you know, that schedule that I had to keep when I was mayor, and the schedule I had to keep in the legislature, and even the schedule now, I've been doing that since I was 22 years old. So, but I did that. And you know what? I got elected 3 years after 2.5 years after I started teaching. I got elected to the Michigan legislature. And so I was driving to Lansing and then coming back at night and going to school. I would drive back to Detroit and go to school at night at 6 o'clock, make my class every night.
That's some real dedication.
Yeah, I had to get it in. I had to get it in.
About your transition from politics to the pulpit. Like, I don't know how many of my viewers are familiar with you are no longer in politics, but now you're Minister Kwame Kilpatrick.
Yes. You know, in my journey, you know, I've had some high highs and some very low lows. I like to say that my life has been like two scenes in my life. I was aboard Air Force One talking Monday Night Football with Bill Clinton, the president. He came out and kicked it with us for a little while. We were on Air Force One going from D.C. to Detroit. And in the next scene of my life, I was on Con Air, chained up like a wild animal, talking to the head of the Mexican mafia about his favorite president, Bill Clinton, and I ever met him. So it was like, those are the two scenes in my life that really, I think, best kind of describe the whole thing. And so on that journey, that nearly 8-year journey, they always say 7, but I was 39 days short of 8 years in the federal system and 18 months in the state system. And, you know, that's almost 10 years of prison. But 6.5 of those years, I gave my life to Jesus Christ. I gave him the whole thing, completely and absolutely surrendered to him. I started off being a janitor in the chapel over in Oklahoma, at El Reno, Oklahoma, you know, wiping floors, cleaning toilets, you know, sweeping and mopping. And after a couple of years of doing that and really studying the word and reading the word, the chaplain there asked me to teach a Bible study. I was nervous as all get out. You saw me in my last job. I would never let them see me sweat. I was sweating bullets. But after doing that for a while, I then started to preach and teach and just, I didn't want to do anything else. I did my first sermon at El Reno and I stood up in the pulpit and I was nervous. But once I got going, I knew I never wanted to do anything else in my life but that.
Okay, so we're going to talk about El Reno a little bit down the road because I read the book.
Okay, all right.
Let me tell you something. I started reading the book and I was like, oh, this is good. And it was just as I kept reading more and more, I was like, wow. And so let me say, I appreciate your transparency. Like, you was naming names and I said, oh, this is really good. Like, your transparency and just being unapologetically who you are and your authenticity was like, wow, this is a good book. So in that you were talking about you were in isolation for more than 200 days. And you were talking about, you know, being in Louisiana and the hurricane and COVID and different things like that. I mean, how do you, in your mind, you know, like you said, you started off being on Air Force One, you know, I don't want to say living the high life, but you were the mayor of the city of Detroit. So, you know, the world was your oyster. And now you're in confinement, in isolation. How does that mentally, how do you adjust?
I don't think that you can go from one thing to the next and actually have a way to articulate it where it makes sense to you. I've learned that you shouldn't analyze your wilderness while you're in it. You just got to survive. You just survive it. And when I was thrown on my first prison yard, I was at a maximum security prison. And so I had to learn. I got on the yard May 24th. I think I saw my first person get stabbed July 4th. So, I mean, it got real quick. And so
Wow.
you basically in the wilderness, you just
Mm-hmm.
survive. And so, through prayer and truly believing God and his word,
Mm-hmm.
toughening up, putting some steel in my spine and
Yeah.
having a hope of something that was coming. I knew that this was just a temporary thing. Even though they gave me 28 years, I knew
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be up there my whole time.
Yeah.
But I don't, like I said in the book, I don't want to make light of the tremendously wicked system that we have of mass
Right.
incarceration. But the prison experience was good for me. It
Mm.
was good that I was afflicted, even
Okay.
though people tell he stole money. I don't even have a charge or anything of stealing money.
Right.
I've never stolen anything. I didn't have any embezzlement charges or
Mm-hmm.
stealing money. I mean, people have been so confused about why I was there, and me too, for 28 years.
You're right.
But God thought different, and so sitting in that cell in Louisiana, boy, y'all got a state down there. Ooh, Lord have mercy. Lord have
Yeah.
mercy. The roof came off the unit in Laura. The roof came right off. I mean, we heard it, but we were in sales, so you couldn't
Right.
see it. But the next day, nobody came to work. And
Right.
down there, right after that hurricane, it was like
Okay.
98, 99 degrees, 90 something
Absolutely.
percent humidity. We couldn't get no air conditioning. I really thought it was over in that cell. I thought this is it. Oh, this is how it's going to work. I had to really start rebuking the devil and all kind of things. And I pleading the blood. I was in there doing all kind of stuff to stay alive. So the long answer is I just didn't analyze it while I was going through it. I just kept my eyes focused on coming out.
Something else that was interesting in the book, you said that at sentencing, you just felt this like a pouring of hot liquid just kind of just saturated your body. You had like a
Yeah.
peace, a calm.
Yes.
And you described the feelings of it was like the spirit of God just came over you once you heard 28 years and the judge said her spiel. It was like you just kind of froze in time a bit. Talk about that a
Yes.
little bit.
In the courtroom that day, I really didn't know what to expect, but there was something keeping me.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bible said the love of God constrains me. I literally felt constrained, like I couldn't get mad, I couldn't get sad, I couldn't move, I couldn't make gestures. I turned around to my two cousins, Ajane Evans and Mark Hardy, and I said, "Listen, don't trip.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to get a lot of time." Because on the news that morning, they were talking about he's going to get 10 years and all this kind of stuff. I knew they weren't going to do that with Kwame.
Mm-hmm.
And so I turned around and I told them I'm going to get a whole lot of time. And when they gave it to me, I had to stand up. Literally, when I stood up, I felt this like liquid coming
Mm-hmm.
and just pouring down my back, going all the way down. It was such a light feeling that I was trying not to smile because this is a very
Wow.
serious moment.
Absolutely.
And when she was reading up there, I could hear her, but not really. I was not really in the courtroom. And, my aunt and they were in the back, and they always say, I mean, how could you be so calm? And I literally was not in there at that time. I mean, I was there, but not there. I was captured by something else. And
Mm-hmm.
that was my first experience with that. And later I found out that was just the Spirit of God. At that particular point, I said, man, I was trying to explain to people, man, something was on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I got back, I think that was God saying that, I got you, and you're going in here and have no doubt, no fear. Then remember, when I walked out of the courtroom, I turned to my family and I said, no doubt, no fear. I still don't know where that came from. I don't know how that came out of me. I wasn't thinking about it. And it
Right.
just came out of my mouth. And that is the same way I got through them hurricanes in Louisiana. If fear
Uh-huh.
started to rise up, I immediately, no doubt, no fear. Lord, you're going to do what
Right.
you said you would do. And that's
Yes.
exactly how I really survived that experience.
That is awesome. So we're going to take a minute. I'm going to reset a bit, and then we're going to do what I call the lightning round. So,
Okay. Okay. Let's
so
get it.
welcome everyone to Touch Taste Thursday. I'm Rebecca Brumfield of the Jean Ellen Home and Lifestyle Collection. My guest tonight is Kwame Kilpatrick, and he is honest. He's truthful. He's telling us his story. He's telling us about his journey from politics to the pulpit. And we are going to jump into the lightning round. So you ready?
Okay, I'm scared, but I'm ready.
What's on your playlist?
Oh, it's all gospel. I just was listening to Jonathan McReynolds' "No Gray," and I had "We Win" by Kirk Franklin. But then I go Hillsong on I do Oceans or What a Beautiful Name It Is, and then I go back to Maverick and Gyra. See, that's my playlist. I'm every day on the
Gotcha.
same 10 songs, but I go old school too. I just had what we were just listening to, baby. Ooh, what is this? What's my man Hawkins?
Hawkins.
Yeah, whatever it is, yeah.
All right. What is a theme song in your head when you get up in the morning? Like if there was a song that played no matter where you went, every time you got up, what is that theme song?
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Doom, Doom,
Yes.
Doom. No. But
Absolutely.
not reintroduce, but just introduce. I like songs that theme song. I got to get up and go work. It's time to get it done. And getting it done now is different. It's not a hustle, getting out, getting in the. It's more of being the type of husband that God intended for me to be, being the type of father that God intended for me to be, and to be the type of preacher and teacher that He intended me to be. So it's time to get it. Let's go get in this word. Let's see what's happening.
Yes, I'm here for it. So tell us about Bruce Smith, your encounter with Bruce Smith at FCI.
Bruce Smith is a now 30. He's still there. I've spoken to him since I've been out. He's a now 30-something year volunteer at El Reno Prison. He taught a class. I forget the name of that class, but he taught a class up at the chapel. I wandered in there mad, depressed. I had been in prison for a little over a year. I was just tired of prison. I was tired of everybody. My boys were not doing well at the time in school. They were having some significant issues. I lost my appeal. It was just a lot going on. I stumbled into the chapel. I have no idea to this day why I walked up there. And he walked in. Now, this guy's about 6'3", about 250 pounds. He's a former Vietnam vet. I'm talking about combat vet. Crazy. He's something else. Old guy. But he looked at me, he said, "Hey, big fella, do you have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ?" I said, "No, man, I don't even know what that is." And he said, "Finally, some honesty in here." And he sat me down and we talked through the gospel. He just gave me that simple gospel, and I heard it before, but I never heard it that like I had. I was broken enough to receive it, and we got on our knees together and prayed a prayer of faith, and I received Christ that day. He was just a gifted evangelist. He knew how to bring people to Christ. And then he was one of the first people in a long list of people at El Reno that were Christian men that were not punks. I love your dad. I love men that are not your cream puff. And we don't serve a cream puff Jesus. We don't serve a punkish Jesus. And he's been shown to our people all this time as being this soft guy. And Bruce Smith was not that, but he was sold out for the Lord. And I met more people there, John Cotton and others. But I give Bruce credit, whatever happens from this ministry, whatever happens in my marriage, it goes back to the day he saw me, spotted me, and said, "Come here, let me tell you about a man."
Yes. So let's talk about what do you believe are the differences in between the sacred and the secular, or is there a difference?
The sacred, the difference is there are things that have been set apart for God by him in his word. And he's given us a prescription on how to do all types of things, but basically how to do life, how to walk in faith, walk in the spirit. Secular world says that you can cut corners, you can follow a different system and get to the same place. The secular world always is looking for a God too. They're always worshiping, but they worship things other than what he tells us to worship and who he tells us to worship in his word. And so I believe that's the difference. It's not super spiritual. It's not churchy. It's the difference between a world system and a kingdom system. And that kingdom system is outlined in what I believe is the word of truth, the Bible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So in your own words, how would you I guess really just kind of not convince or maybe explain, but like how would you draw a new Christian to Christ, like someone who's seeking but they're not sure how to begin the process. You know, they're looking for that I guess almost like that Job experience that you may have had, but they're not sure what to do or how to get there.
I think, Jesus says, I am the way. Now, he's the way, but there are many different paths that take you to him. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to recognize that how Rebecca might come in and Rebecca's experiences are different than a young cat, from Linwood and the Boulevard who've been a GD or a vice lord his whole life.
Right.
And he ain't really heard nothing about Jesus. Or he heard it was the white guy that always on the cross, and so people come in differently. But I think the first thing is relationship, building a rapport. And that's why he made some to be evangelists, some to be preachers and prophets and teachers and apostles. He made different people because there's somebody that will only hear the gospel from Rebecca. And there's some people that he readies the heart for. That's why we can't be afraid. You never know if your date with destiny is today. That's what I got from Bruce Smith. He's a white guy from Yukon, Oklahoma. I'm talking about right-wing Republican, Trump supporter, the whole thing. Right. I mean, this is a person that had no business talking to Democrat from the city of Detroit, Kwame Kilpatrick, big black dude, but he was on assignment. And he had to do what he was called to do. And I just think that's what everybody has an opportunity to do in your own walk of life. Some people, you just have to build a relationship. Some people, you don't talk about Jesus the first day. I learned that in the prison, first of all, do you care about me? I'm going through something. Man, the mother of my children is sick, man. She might have cancer. My kid's a big orphan. I'm not, listen, man, is it all right if me and you pray together? Right. At some point, we have to engage people first on the level that they're on and be able to communicate with them in a human way. Jesus knelt at the well with that woman. Jesus did so many different things to show who he is, but also how we should minister. And he's our example. He's our revolutionary example.
Yes. We have a couple comments. The first question is, will you use a pulpit to push political education in the Black community similar to Dr. King?
No. I believe that Dr. King, one of the things that made him great, because at the time he was maligned, he was hated, and he was eventually killed. But we need to understand that, even the National Black Baptist Convention, voted against supporting him. He wasn't the Dr. King, beloved Dr. King. He was a radical. He was a revolutionary. And that call has to come straight from God. And he didn't tell me to speak politics in the pulpit. As a matter of fact, he took this old politician and showed him very plainly that the key to our victory in our community is not through politics. It's through a transformation of the heart. The person that asked that question about political education, these are things that we do need it, because we see these people every 4 years as saviors and we go out and vote for them. But in the meantime, all the shooting that's going on, all the divorce, all the adultery, all the fornication, all of the lying and manipulating it, I myself have been a part of. Politics didn't cure it. I was really good at politics and also really good at sin. And so something else is the cure for our community. And I want to be able to talk about that from this person. I think it's really important that I stay out of that. And God has given me the same message.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this question that kind of pulls away but ties into. So what should young African Americans and minorities be engaged in as we approach? You mentioned that, every 4 years or every 2 years, we have this election cycle and there's still crime and things happening. So what are some things that we just need to be more conscious of?
I think the first thing that the young folk, there's never been a revolution in the history of all humanity where young folks weren't the spark of the revolution. We need to understand that, whether you're talking about Tiananmen Square in China or Soweto in South Africa, or you talking about Joshua and Caleb in the valley while the old folks was up on the mountain praying. Right. it was always young folks doing it. And so the first thing the young people need to understand is what you're fighting for. What are you fighting for? Are you willing to fight for anything? I know you're fighting each other. I know you
Right.
fighting something, but are you fighting for anything positive? And if you're fighting for something, why?
Mm-hmm.
I think we can serve those of us who now got a little gray hair and still connect with folks. We can serve as the kind of the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding around the political community and also family processes to help people move from where they are now to where they want to be in terms of what to fight for. And if that's a better school, let me show you how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's a better relationship with your baby's mother, let us talk to you about how to do that. And so we got to first understand what young people want. You know, a lot of people that's out there gang banging really don't want to be doing that. I didn't find that out till I got to prison and talked to a whole bunch of them. And I didn't want to be out there doing that, but hey, what else we gonna do? Ain't nothing else in the neighborhood. And so we need to take them some solutions to be able to get involved in to move them. We ain't gonna get everybody. You know, we're not gonna get everybody. But if we can get a critical mass of people to look the other way, to turn aside from what they're doing now and look at another direction, another way, we can change communities first, change families, change communities, and then change our cities, states, and world.
Absolutely. So let me ask you about this. I've had a couple different conversations with people about just environment playing a factor, demographics playing a factor with people just wanting to advance, not just the African American community, but the Latino community, just people of color. And my response is always, in 2022, you know, there's a lot of resources. You know, almost everyone has a cell phone. You know, there's internet cafes and Wi-Fi. What are your feelings about that? Is it still such a, I guess, such a financial gap that it is still very much a hindrance that's keeping people from gaining knowledge and seeking the resources, like you spoke of, being able to help with careers in college or just schools?
You know, I think overall, from a position of community wealth, there's a gap. But we live in this country where, you know, people actually see people go from living in squalor to driving this kind of car and everything else. I think we have to change the way we view money and not just have it as an object to worship, an object to buy other things to worship, whether that's a car or a home or a particular outfit or jewelry or whatever, and change it to a tool to be used for empowerment of particular people, families, communities. If we could change how we look at money, and it takes a long time because I grew up on Linwood and the Boulevard, and although I had parents who were educated, I grew up in a good family. The draw for money is overwhelming. I mean, and I grew up a generation before the guys. Now it's all money. Now you better get yours. You got to get and people are willing to do anything. So it's not the wealth gap only. Yes, that's a big issue. Yes, we need to discuss it. But there's also some principles that we need to put in place, because if you handed people somebody $1 million right now, a lot of folks, it would end up going out of the community so fast and not empowering anyone but that particular person for a season. And that's why we have so many basketball players, football players, basically who are broke now. So it can't only be money. We have to talk about a heart change. We have to talk about issues in our own minds. We have to talk about how do we educate people to be entrepreneurs or educate people to manage money well. You're right. Everybody got a cell phone. People now making money off Instagram and Facebook just by having, you know, a number of followers. But hey, we have to do more than just increase people's money. We also have to increase their understanding as well.
Yes. Going back to the book, Off the Grid, which is a very good read, I might add. You talked about you had to get rid of Kwame from Detroit. And that had been your persona basically your whole life, going, you know, from adolescence into your adulthood, being at FAMU, into the legislature, and going forward. Kwame from Detroit was this larger than life figure. So how did you get to that point where you just had to humble who you were and say, I can't be that person anymore?
When I believe many people come to Christ, they try to figure out a way to be two people. They try to be the new person that they've experienced the real Spirit of God, and they try to be this person. But they also trying to be cool with people and the life that they have. They're trying to still have some familiarity with it because they're feeling disconnected from people because they have this new connection. And I did the same thing. I was trying to figure out how to be that guy and also be the new guy. And it just doesn't work. You can't be double-minded. Paul said, I've been crucified with Christ. I'm dead. Nevertheless, I live. There had to be a time when I put Kwame down. So I had to divorce Detroit. Or Detroit already divorced me. They kicked me out. So I had to accept the terms of divorce from Detroit. And I know there's a lot of people, they always send so much love from the city. And that's my city, that's my hometown. But hey, they was like, get up out of here. And so I was beating on the door trying to get in. Please don't leave me, please.
Right.
I had to accept the terms of divorce. And then I had to figure out who I was without the title. Who are you? You're not mayor. You're not state rep. You're not anything. As a matter of fact, the first day I got to the prison in El Reno, it was a very racist prison. And this guy walked past my cell. He says, you're nothing but an inmate now. And I sat on the bed. I looked at him and he walked by. And I said, okay, who are you? Really? I'm not nothing but an inmate. I'm still Jelani Jalil and Jonas's dad.
Right.
I'm still Carolyn and Bernard's son. But who are you? And I had to spend the next few years figuring that out. But the first thing I had to do was kill the old man, mortify him. And that was the hardest thing to do, is divorce myself, is to put him down, put his friends down, put his attitude and his swagger down. I had to put down the things that I thought made me. And that is a hard thing for people making a transition in this fancy process called sanctification. It's a fancy name for a real ugly process because you cussing and holding your Bible and crying when they praise and worship. You still go and get a drink every now and then, but you're doing stuff over here and for people that's looking at it, they're looking at some sausage being made, and they're not looking at the finished product.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that happened to me, which is why I have compassion and empathy for people who going in the process and saying, change me, Lord, because He's going to do it. But it's not pretty all the time.
Right.
And you have to be honest with where you are as you go through the process. And that's why I had to kill Kwame. Dave was already trying to kill him, but I had to get to the real part of who you are, to kill the lies, accept the fact that I've done wrong, accept the fact that I've been wrong. I've betrayed people. That's a real place where you got to accept this, because you're still trying to say, I didn't do that. They said I did that. I'm not guilty of that. I might have did this, but I'm not. Now listen, I'm guilty before God. I've sinned against you and you alone. You right, and I need you to help me. And that's the place where David got, and it's the place where Kwame had to get.
I understand it. Let's jump to our lightning round again.
Okay, I'm gonna go fast this time.
All right. Nikes or Reeboks?
Nikes.
Vernors or Canada Dry?
Vernors. Come on now. I'm from Detroit City.
Better Made chips or Utz?
Better Made or what? Better Made.
All right. If you had an actor, if you were able to pick an actor to play you in a story of your life, who are you going with?
Wow. I don't know. I want to play me. They gotta give me.
Okay.
No, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. It's probably a new big fella on the scene. I don't know him. I don't watch many movies, but it's probably a new big fella out there. I ain't seen him yet. But yeah, it's probably a new big fella out there that could do a good job.
Gotcha. Well, if someone comes to ask you about a movie, find a part for me to play. It doesn't
Absolutely.
matter what it is.
Absolutely. You could be one of them horrible reporters. Just play it.
Oh!
Just come up. Just be a bad one. You know, just come. Hey, where you going?
No.
What are you doing? What is that? You could be one of them, and then we all laugh about it. That's good.
Good. I'm all for it. So you're now, you've transitioned. You're no longer Kwame of Detroit. Now you're Kwame Malik Kilpatrick. You've accepted Christ. You've gone through the process. You've been in prison about 4 or 5 years now, and you're just steady growing and learning. And now you're leading Bible studies and you're teaching others about Christ. How was that? Because in the book you talked about each time they transported you to a new location, everyone was like, "Oh, what's up?" or "What's going on?" Like they recognized you as almost like a celebrity.
Right.
So how did you kind of put that to the side? Like, I'm not a celebrity, I'm Minister Kilpatrick now.
I think the best sermon you could preach is just living your life in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
And everywhere I went, I'm just me. And we just I find the chapel, I get a job in the chapel, I tutor people for free. I used to help people write letters and motions and everything else. I never charged anybody. And after a while, people start saying, okay, he is who he's seeing, because, they see all the programs made, all the little programs that were made about me and all this kind of stuff. And people really don't understand the entertainment value for that stuff. It's very little truth in there. But I mean, I've been hearing it from a lot of people for years, but I had to see it for myself. Using B-roll and a narrative. You can make anybody. But they're expecting that person. And when I showed up, that person, they could see that person was dead. And many relationships I have even to this day are from people that I still counsel, I still speak to, I still help. Our Bible studies are every Friday at 8 a.m. Now, that ain't church time. Friday at 8 a.m.
Right.
We're having like 100 or more people on Bible study on Fridays at 8 a.m. And because people are not hungering for the word. And I just believe that there's an opportunity for people to hear the word differently. And when they see Kwame, it ain't Kwame. God moves me out of the way, and he preaches and teaches to the people that are there.
Oh. So let's fast forward to January 20th, 2021 at 1 a.m.
Wow.
Let's get, okay, so we're in the cell with you. Give us, in our mind's eye, we're sitting in the cell with you, and it's 11 p.m. It's now 12 a.m. What's the thought process?
At 10 a.m., the orderlies locked down. So that's the last word I was getting. They had the television. We in isolation now. So they was getting word from CNN that there were going to be some commutations. And Fred Bradley, he went to bed. He went to lockdown at 10, came by the cell, said, "Big homie, they said they're going to do some commutations, but they ain't said your name. But I know they're doing it, big homie, but I got to go." And the officer locked him down. At 12 midnight in the federal system, they have a count, a 12 midnight count. And so the officers are coming around the counter. I'm in the cell by myself, isolation. I hit the door, which you're not supposed to cut count off. That's like against all the rules. But I told the dude, I said, "Ortiz, man, I just got a commutation." And he said, "Who told you that, Kilpatrick?" I said, "No, for real, if you check the computer, I just got a commutation. I'm shooting my shot, right?" And he said, "Well, who told you that?" And I said, "The Lord told me." And he started laughing. He left, but true to his word, he went and checked the computer. And I'm waiting at midnight. I'm like, when he walks away, I'm like laying in the bed, and I get up and walk around. I said, "I know what's happening, Lord. I'm praying. Thank you. I'm thanking him. I'm praising him in advance. I'm doing all of that. I'm singing songs. Y'all in there worship. I'm having a full, all-out praise and worship up in there." And at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm sitting on the bed, and the door opened, and he said, "Who told you that?" I said, "I told you, the Lord told me." I said, "All you got to do is check." And he pulls out the free press and the news articles and shows them to me and said, "Man, you got a commutation from the president." So 1 a.m., the president leaves office at 12 noon.
Right.
That's exactly 11 hours before President Trump left office. So literally in the 11th hour, I received a commutation from the president of the United States. I shed a couple tears. I got on my knees. I prayed and thanked God. and I went to sleep. This is the funny part. At 3 a.m., they do a count two. They usually don't have you stand up, you sleep. He opens the door again. How did you sleep? You're going home. And I told him, I said, it's done. The Lord did it. This at 5 a.m., the warden knocked on the door and said, it's real, Kilpatrick. We getting you out of here quick and quiet. I was on a noon plane out of Alexandria, and I was sitting in my mother's house with food everywhere at 4 o'clock that afternoon. So from 1 a.m. to 4 o'clock afternoon, 1 a.m. in isolation, hearing a word about getting free. And at 4 a.m., I'm surrounded by my sons, my cousins, aunt, my sister, and my mother, my father, and we eating catfish and crab legs and celebrating. And so, and, you know, Doris, what was that, Doris Day? No, what's that lady's name? What a difference a day makes, 24 little hours? No, what a difference a few hours makes.
Yes.
You know, everything can change in your whole life in just a few hours. And so that's what it was like in that room. I was pacing, I was nervous, but I was praying and worshiping through it. And then suddenly he opened that door. It was over.
Suddenly. That's the key word of the year, suddenly.
Suddenly. Yes, sir.
Suddenly, yes. I when I read it, I was like, oh, this is so exciting.
Yeah.
You talking about, you know, like you said, just everyone coming in saying, hey, we got to get you out, you know, getting transported from there to the airport. And you know, you were jokingly saying to the attendant, like, hey, let me go first. Like,
Dinah Washington. Your dad said Dinah Washington. Okay, that's who it was. Yeah, what a difference a day makes. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Pastor.
That was that. So, and I mean, I know you had also said that there were several instances before where you were supposed to have home confinement because of COVID and different things like that. And so in that moment when it was official, Ortiz came in and said, it's time to go. Was it like an immediate sigh of relief, or was it like that same feeling like, I don't know if this is going to happen again?
You know, the first time was May 22nd. They came and told me, May 22nd, 2020, you got released. You got home confinement. Man, I was cheering. I was geeked. And 6 days later, they came to the cell and said, no, they rescinded it.
Yeah.
And I'm in isolation. They left me in isolation. The second time was in October. I was a little bit happy. I was like, okay, cool. It's going to happen. I signed release papers the first time. I signed release papers the second time. And they came 6 days later and said they rescinded. But this time, you would think I would be like, I'm going to wait. I was like, that's it. Everything in me said release. On January 15th, I was kind of going crazy a little bit, and I was led to read by the Lord Ezekiel 3, and it was like the plan for release. I'm giving you your assignment, but when you get out of here, shut yourself up in your house. You know, I need to learn. I need to teach you some stuff. Don't go out there and start preaching and teaching. Listen to me. I'm going to tell you when it's time. And I just experienced that chapter in chapter 3 in a way I never did before. You know, he sat where they sat, next to the river with the captives, all that, the whole thing. And I said, oh, I'm getting out of here. So when I heard on the 20th, I was like, oh, that's it. I knew it. Wasn't no taking back the president's word. Plus, he was leaving in a few hours. And so it was over. And when the warden hit that door at 5 a.m., man, you know, he hit the door too. Hit it hard. Boom, boom. You know, the old jailhouse now. And he opened the door, and I was like, hey, man, you know, he said, it's quick. Hey, it's true. It's official. I'm getting you out of here quick and quiet.
Yes.
Man, listen, it was the craziest thing. You know, in Acts 16, when they told Paul he can go out the back door, he said, no. Walk me right out the front door, the way you walked me in here. They walked me out of the front door. I passed by all the same guards who had been ugly, and I would just say, hey, man, deuces, I'll see you later.
Right. And
when I got to the car, the guy said, get in the front seat. It's over, Kilpatrick. No change. I got in the front seat, and I drove to the airport. And that was my first time seeing Alexandria. I said, okay, it is kind of all right around here.
Oh.
You know, I said, this is cool, you know. But, you know, all the states I've been in, Oklahoma, Louisiana, New Jersey, you never see anything because you go right to the prison and you're just in there.
Right.
But it was an amazing experience. When I got to the airport, everybody was so nice. I got on the prison sweatsuits. They know where I'm coming from, all these guards around. They walked me to the plane. I asked the lady, can I get on first? She said, sure. I get on the plane first. I'm in the back row, the last seat in the back row, that one that don't go back, that uncomfortable seat. It
Right.
was the best seat ever that day. I'm sitting there watching the news. I mean, watching outside and looking at, oh, if the news coming, if somebody coming, I'm looking at the door, watching all the people get in.
Yeah.
When they closed the door and we took off, it was an exhilarating feeling. It was the kind of feeling like, oh my God, I'm out of prison. 39 days short of 8 years, I'm out. And when we landed in Atlanta, I always say, you know, I sat in the last seat, but the person in first class, he got there the same time I did. The last shall be first. We all get here at the same time.
Come on.
You know, so we got off the plane and my sons were there. And y'all saw that footage. Jonas ran in there and he got me first. And that was just like, okay, it's over. It's over.
Wow. That is such an amazing testimony. Like just the whole thing. So I'm visual. So as I'm reading, I'm like seeing all of this, and then I'm like, oh, this is how this played out. And so to hear you share your story and just be a witness of how, you know, transformation can happen. You don't have to wait until you're 70, 80 years old to have a transformation. Like, you know, you surrendered your life to Christ, and Christ made these transformations happen. And every step after, it just seemed like things just kept happening, but you never gave in. You stayed on the path to Christ.
Man, I think I do it better in the book because when you're writing a book, and I don't know if you have experienced this or others that are listening, you actually go back to the place. And when you're writing, you're sitting in the cell, you're in the courtroom, you're experiencing the stuff. So the words are just so profound. Like when I read my own stuff, I'm like, whoa, that really happened, you know?
Right.
And the book, you know, I was reading the book the other day because we're doing an Audible version, and I'm reading it. And so, you know, everybody convinced me that I should read it. So yeah, we'll be finished next Friday, a week from tomorrow. And so it's so hard because you got to I mess up all the time. But words, everything. Okay, stop, cut, go back. And so, but I'm reading and I'm like, wow. And the engineer who didn't know anything about me, he's listening, and he was like, what, man, what do you mean? So he's hearing it for the first time, and I'm just looking at his reaction like, wow, okay. You know, and that's why I want people to go out and get it. If you really want to know, you know, Off the Grid, there it is. I mean, that was nothing but the Holy Spirit. He was bringing things back to me. He was sitting me in the seat where I was. He was engaging me with the people. Like you talked about Bruce Smith. I haven't seen Bruce Smith since 2017. But writing, I'm like right there with him. I can hear him. I can talk to him. I can, and you know, it's just that kind of thing when you can talk about it from the perspective of the writing.
Yes.
The book is available on Amazon. Amazon.com. You can get it right there. Thank you, Lady Beth.
I will pin it in our IGTV so that you can click the link there. Yes, it is available on Amazon. And it's Off the Grid.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Becca. And then what's that? Good Lord, Drina.
Ordered a copy the other day. Yes.
Thank you so much.
About rebranding. Let's talk about, so now you are in a new season of life. When we talked the other day, you were talking about you just feel like your life is basically started over. So tell us about starting over and like, you know, re-establishing relationships with your sons and your sisters and brothers and all of that.
You know, that's been, let me just start by saying in prison, all the way through the prison experience, you know, we had those ups and downs where I actually had to end up counseling a lot of them, you know, because of the sadness and the ups and being mad and being tortured and being followed. And so the experience was that, you know, kind of we always would connect in prison. I had the first conversation with my wife in like August or September. We kind of go back and forth on what it was of 2018. Okay. We had a conversation. She didn't like me. I didn't like her. So it was great conversation. You know, when you ain't trying to impress nobody, you know, you just be real. We was just real, just naked and unashamed, you know, just having conversations, jailhouse, praying together. She is just radically obedient. So I was like, that's weird, but she was
Uh-huh.
teaching me how to be more obedient at the same thing. I was just like, okay, and we started this building. And so for 2 years, 2.5 years, through 2020, she was in isolation with me. We had to write letters. I say it was the first organic dating relationship I ever had, where there was absolutely no sex involved. I couldn't take her to the nice dinner. I couldn't put on the right cologne and the right outfit and look real smooth. I just had to be me. And she just had to be her. And for her to reach in there and talk to me like that, it was just crazy. And so I'm thinking, this is ridiculous, but it was growing me up for what I was getting ready to do. And so when I got out on the 20th, on the 28th was her 40th birthday.
Right.
And so I promised her I'm going to be at that birthday. I'm going. And so when I showed up in Detroit, that was crazy to just show up and be there for her birthday, hang out with her family. And that night I proposed to her. And so I could say my life really started over right then. And then, when I left, Jonas was 12. Yeah. And the fellas were 16.
Okay.
So I come back and they're 19 and 25. So we had to learn how to have a different relationship. We came to this kind of crescendo moment where we went off and went out of town and just had to meet the men they are. They wanted me to acknowledge and respect how they made it through everything too. And I had to do that. And I had to learn. I couldn't be telling what we was doing all this when you wasn't around, So, man, we grown men. And they were right. And so I had to, talk to them about that. And then I had to learn how to, let me speak into your lives, man. I've done, I've been 25. You ain't been 50, you ain't been 51. So let me talk to you about that. And so that's an ongoing process. But mom and dad and just, being home has been great. But I also now have a new family. And so a wife, and then I inherited another son. And now I have a son on the way. And it's like this excitement. It's just like I'm just geeked all the time. I'm so happy. I'm so excited about what life is going to be. I pray, Lord, continue to surprise me. I trust you. Keep surprising me. And, we kicked off our ministry a few weeks ago at Movemental, and it was amazing to see the people who showed up, all new pastors, Pastor Linnell Caldwell from Detroit, and also Bishop Sheard showed up. Bishop came in there and did his thing. But new pastors that I've been meeting showed up, and it's just a new friendship, a new circle of people around me. It's just such a newness of life. And that's what I absolutely love. Somebody said I got 5 boys starting b-ball lineup. Right, you bring in the little point guard now.
Come on. Now you need a cheerleader and you good.
Yeah, we were trying that. I was really hoping for a girl. I was hoping for that. I wanted to experience that relationship, but now we got a big head boy coming up out of there.
You never know what the Lord gonna do.
Yeah.
Call me to babysit. I'm on my way.
There it is. It's done. You can't say it. That's happening now. All right. Might have to drop him off in Louisiana for a couple of weeks. That's good.
Absolutely. Everybody loves Becky. So hey, bring it to Becky.
That's good.
Yes. So tell us more about Movemental Ministries. Like we've been seeing the posts, we've been seeing some of your Bible studies. Like Movemental Ministries is moving and you're growing quickly. So let's talk about that a bit.
Movemental Ministries, and the name comes from a book that I read called Permanent Revolution. In the book, the author is making the argument that Jesus didn't give us his spirit to just have church. Church is just one aspect, but he gave us his spirit to turn the world upside down, to overwhelm this world system with the kingdom system. And I like movements. I just like it. I like coming in and tearing up and building up and rooting out and putting something back. And so it just spoke to me. And so we started Movemental. It's a movement, but it's also missional. It's not a movement going awry. We're not holding up no signs and hollering. What we're doing is saying that this is the missional movement that Jesus Christ started more than 2,000 years ago. And we're moving it through his word and his passion and his plan. And that's what we're starting. We're starting on a virtual platform. You know, we want to actually support what regular churches are doing or traditional churches, because we're having Saturday services. We're having Friday morning and Tuesday Bible studies. So we're trying to be on the other days. So if you want to
Yes.
supplement what you're doing, come and hang out with us at Movemental. Just check on us, movementalministries.org. You can hear about us. You can see our mission. You can see what we're doing, movementalministries.org. Also, I've learned that ministries don't run on gasoline. You know, you actually got to have some money. And, you know, for tomorrow, we're doing a Bible study on tithing. Is it still relevant? And not because we need money, but because we need to understand whether we should do it or not. Is it something we should still do? Does it matter? And why did God come up with this system? And so that we need to talk about it. The world talks about money. The world talks about sex. The world talks about violence. The world talks about manipulation and lying. When the world talks about being real or being fake. It's really important that if we're engaged in a movement to overwhelm the world system with the kingdom, we got to be playing on the same surface that they are. And so that's what we are, and that's who we are.
Got it. I like it. Yes. So what is your hope for 2022?
The hope for 2022 is we want to grow exponentially, of course. We have a growth plan. We believe that God is moving us to a place and a space to have our kind of our headquarters of operation for the ministry. We're using a place here in Georgia, in Marietta, but we want our own space. But also to bring a healthy child into the world and to learn how to be a baby dad again. To learn how to be a really good husband, and to learn how to be a family, and then also to continue to honor my parents and to honor the ministry that God gave me. And so 2022 is just, I believe, a year of growth, a year of blessings, and a year of continued maturation in all the gifts that God has given me.
Awesome. So last question in the lightning round before we go. With anyone, past or present, to outline the rest of your life, who would that be and why?
Nelson Mandela. It would either be King or Nelson Mandela. Both of them, I believe, had the type of tenacious inner strength that was so uncanny that we've only seen it a few times in the history of mankind. And what I mean by that is, you know, you had this 5'7", 5'8" preacher from the South whose life was threatened every single day. And they told him, don't you come to our town. And he came anyway. And he transformed not only American politics and society, he did it up for all over the world. And then the same thing with Nelson Mandela, who sat in a prison. And I've been to Robben Island. I've visited the prison. I've seen what they did there. I saw the old pictures from the 60s and the 90s, how they were grooming Department of Transportation, Minister of Defense, Minister of this, in the prison. So they're in old prison clothes, but they were grooming them. So when they came out, they were prepared to lead a whole country. But then he also had this compassion and this level of forgiveness that I haven't seen since Stephen and Jesus. I mean, he forgave people who literally he saw torture people in his own community and people he knew. And so that kind of person I would like to sit down with and have a conversation with him, just have him impart some knowledge to me. I probably wouldn't say much and just sit there and listen. But both of those men are my heroes. I read Nelson Mandela's autobiography while I was sitting in a solitary confinement cell, and it's like 700 pages. I read the whole thing, and it changed me. It really did change me.
Well, thank you so very much for joining me on Touch Base Thursday and just opening up and sharing your story. Like, I just appreciate you. I honor you. I'm humbled that you came on my little talk show.
Whatever.
I appreciate you so much. You know, we love the Kilpatrick family. The Brumfield family loves the Kilpatrick family. So, you know, I just can't say thank you enough for just joining me and just sharing your story.
You know what? Thank you. for doing what you're doing, for stepping out on faith. And then coming out here and getting all these interested people. I saw Bishop Sheard on the show. I watched him for a while, and y'all kicked it, and Karen was in the background, and all kind of stuff happened. So,
I didn't even see her until afterwards. Everybody was like, she was watching it. I'm like, really?
Yeah, she was right there. So, I mean, it's just a great thing to see you doing your thing. I love the Brumfields. I love your mom and dad. You know that. And I just, thank you for having me on here. I thank you for reading the book and taking the time to read it. I hope that it excited you, inspired you, and encouraged you.
And did.
And I just thank you for that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Everyone, please go to Amazon and get your copy of Off the Grid. It's a very, very, very good book. And like I said, I started reading it and I was into it. So I think you all will definitely enjoy that. Thank you again.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
Bible study, 8 a.m. If you go to you on Instagram, if you go to my page right now, The Real Kwame Kilpatrick, I got a little blue check. It's a bunch of Kwame Kilpatricks, but I got the blue check.
So
if you go to it, you can actually see how to get on the Zoom Bible study in the morning. Come on in. We're going to talk about some great things, and I'm sure you're going to love it. So Bible study, 8 a.m. Get on up. Hang out with us in the morning.
Absolutely. That is all for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for Touch Taste Thursday. Make sure you are following Minister Kilpatrick. If you are following him and not me, make sure you're following me. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Next Thursday, my guest is Councilman Darrell Hurst here in Baton Rouge. We're actually going to be live. We're going to be in the same space. So that's going to be a conversation.
Amen.
Get your questions, get your suggestions. If you know of anyone that you would like to see on this show, send them my information or send me their information and I'll reach out. I appreciate you guys for watching. Remember, our motto of this year is what's for me is for me and what ain't is for another saint. I will see you guys next Thursday. Have a great weekend.
All right.
Safe.
See you later. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.